Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
And welcome into the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. This is episode 51. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. I am running solo tonight, hosting the show. So, I don't know. We're going to have some fun. But if you don't know already, though, last week, Thursday, we were supposed to have our guest, Angelo, on the show. But then a family emergency happened. I don't want to get into it. And I texted him like the last second. I felt like an asshole. And I was like, son of a B, I don't want to, but I had to. Anyways, he was understanding about it. I still feel bad for this, but I was like, I couldn't wait to get Angelo back on the show. And Angelo and I, we only met a couple of times so far. And I love him and his crew there at Legacy Pursuit, but I don't want to talk too much about that. I want him to explain most of that stuff. So I'm going to be doing two jobs here. So let me give a round of applause and bring him in. And then, hey, Angelo.
Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Sorry again for the mix up in the scheduling.
No, it happens. It happens. The world's a busy place, so I get it.
Well, for everyone that doesn't know you, Angelo, can you give a quick little introduction about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Angelo Giannoni. The big thing about me is I grew up in Chicago. I still live in Chicago, and I love the outdoors. So growing up in the city, I didn't really have many people to bounce ideas off of besides my family in terms of hunting and fishing and all that, trapping. But over the last 5 years, I've really taken like a leap into, just focusing on it and focusing a little bit more on land management. And, I've been a part of a couple teams, previously Whitetail Bloodline, now Legacy Pursuit with a couple of my buddies. So just love what we're doing. We're having fun, getting back to our roots of, just having a good time and just, going back like deer camp and just hanging out with everybody. That's what we're all about right now. I'm focusing on conservation. So that's just a little bit about me.
So what eventually got you into the outdoor world?
Yeah. So I grew up basically, I don't know, age of 5, going out with my dad. I actually have the picture right in front of me here. Me and my dad, that was my first time going out with him. So this is just like on my nightstand here, but I'm up at the property, so I'm not the ideal room, but I have a couple gobblers behind me. But I grew up hunting with my grandfather, my uncles. My dad was my big, mentor, and to this day we still hunt side by side, which is what I love. So there's nothing better about going to the woods with family, and specifically my dad.
Yeah. I remember my dad taking me out hunting, and I remember watching my dad go out hunting when we moved out to where they live now, and I was just standing out the door just waiting for him to come in and just ask him, did you see anything? Did you see anything?
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for that first time to go hunting with him. And the first 2 to 3 years, I hunted basically within an eyesight of him because that's something he wanted to do. I'm going to do that with my son. And it was just a magical moment to have with your dad. And it's cool to see that you have kind of like the same type of story with your dad.
Yeah, I have a very similar story. Since I live in Chicago and the property is about 2 hours away, growing up, he'd always leave on the weekends. And I was always like, where'd he go? And my mom's like, oh, he's out hunting with his brothers and his dad, my grandpa. And I'm like, man, why can't I join? I was like 3 years old, like, come on, why can't I go? And then eventually, they took me out, and it's been great since.
What's a story that you're going to remember forever that's with you and your dad?
Probably the big one was my first whitetail, just because my grandfather was there and a bunch of my uncles. One of my uncles that I was close with, he's no longer here, but he was a part of that picture. He was a part of like the retrieval process of it. And my grandfather's not here either, but Just having everyone there for my first whitetail harvest, it's something that will always be with me forever. I have pictures of it, and it's just it's an amazing moment. Yeah, it brings almost tears to my eyes. I mean, it's amazing what the outdoors does. Just bonding with family. Just a lot of people don't understand why we do this. It's not about like the killing. It's about, like I said, the deer camp and just getting together with everybody and just having a good time and having laughs and storytelling.
It's
Just
almost
it's something that's slowly dying. Unfortunately, we just gotta get back to it.
yeah, and I think I don't want to use the word excuse, but it's an excuse to get family back together around in my time. In my opinion, the best time around the year is nice, cool weather, out having a bonfire, just seeing everyone, and that's the best time in my opinion, it's better than Christmas. Archery, October 1st is Christmas Day to me.
I agree. I was always envious of the people up in Wisconsin. They'd get off for first season of deer for firearm. I'm like, come on, why can't Illinois do this?
Right?
But yeah, I agree. October 1st is like, golly, it's like open. It's like Christmas Day. It really is. I agree with that.
So you're down there
Yeah.
in Illinois, correct? Where exactly kind of ballpark in Illinois are you at?
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I live in Chicago, so that's right along Lake Michigan. But the property is about 2 hours northwest. So if you're going towards like the tri-state area of Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois, so I'm sort of like right on that corner at the tip.
Okay.
That's where we're predominantly at. Hilly country, ag, rolling hills, just stands of timber. Very diverse.
So obviously you're more of a private land hunter than public land.
Yeah. So I've grown up hunting private. I've been very fortunate to hunt the family property, and I've been fortunate enough to purchase a piece, right across the street. And I've been working on tailoring that to be just a whitetail paradise and just a paradise in general for a lot of animals. So mainly private, but I'm slowly starting to dabble in public. I'll be hitting Michigan actually this year, public.
Oh,
So
nice. Where at?
I'm
Well,
northern Michigan, so near Traverse City.
it's a quick 3.5 hour drive up for me.
It's a longer drive. It's a longer drive for me. It's
That
like
is
6
true.
hours. And there's always traffic on those expressways. Nothing ever goes smooth on going through Indiana.
Have you gone through Grand Rapids ever before?
Yes.
The S curve that they call it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
It's
I can't
terrible.
stand it.
It is terrible. There's always some sort of accident. There's always some sort of backup. I'm like, God. And you lose an hour too.
You do.
So for me, I'm losing an hour. I'm like,
I remember real quick. We were driving up. Me, my dad, and our best friend was driving up to the UP to see my dad's best friend. We were going up there for the New Year's Eve, and it was like 8 o'clock at night. We're going through Grand Rapids. There was an accident on the side of the S curve heading southbound on it.
yeah.
The line of cars, I was like, oh, it's just going right down there, maybe like 3 miles. No, this was like a 15-mile just cars backed up. I mean, it went forever. I was like, it's never ending.
I mean, like living in Chicago, I'm sort of used to the traffic. Like I'll have my buddies come in from, John from Kansas and Tyler from PA. So they're not really used to like the city traffic. And they're just like, how do you do this every single day? I'm like, I'm used to it, man. It's terrible. So like our main expressways are all cut down in half because they're redoing the main expressway. So traffic's even worse right now. So
You gotta love traffic. I'm sorry, I just can't.
I can't wait to leave the city. So soon. But yeah, I'm excited to dabble with some public. One of my buddies, he lives up there, so I'll go up there and scout a couple weekends, and hopefully I can at least hunt 2 weekends straight, which would be nice.
I did. The past couple episodes, we've had a lot of people on they primarily hunted public land.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of cool to see people in the private land. I mean, I'm a private land hunter. I have access to it, which I'm very fortunate to the Biglows. Thank you guys again. I think obviously, in my opinion, there's pros and cons to being able to hunt on both and or really doing one or the other. I think personally, I mean, you might think I'm different, but I think being a better hunter is hunting on private land because you can manage your own property. And
Uh,
I guess
yeah.
I guess when to say you're a better hunter, but you can try new things on land management wise when you compared to what you couldn't do on public land, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Like, you're able to channel more of that land management side. But in terms of me personally, I've hunted a little bit of public. Um, I just feel like public makes you a better outdoorsman. Just reading sign, looking at the terrain. For my private piece, I know where these deer are traveling because I've hunted it so many times. I know the funnels. I know where they're bedding. But going into like a different piece and trying to connect all the pieces for that puzzle, I feel that's the cool thing. That's what makes you a really true outdoorsman, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me.
You.
And it's something that I need to definitely improve in, just because I'm so used to my ways of hunting private. I know those spots. I know where everything's going to be happening.
Right.
It's just something new, which would be cool.
And I think being able to, I think when you get caught up on how you hunt on your own land, being able to kind of test your limits in a sense on the public land and see if you can
Yeah.
really pick out these different things, and you really gain a lot of knowledge just from what I've been hearing of being able, like you said, reading deer sign and trying to figure out how they're operating differently and incorporating that into on your own private land.
Mm-hmm. And the big thing is with private, people tend to oversit their spots. So to have some sort of source of public nearby where you don't have to blow out these spots, because let's just say you're a weekend warrior and you only have one piece to hunt, most likely you're going to be going into that stand just because you enjoy the outdoors, you enjoy hunting. I would do the same thing. I only
Right.
have a few days to hunt. But if you're going after a mature buck, most likely that buck's not going to be there if you're going in every single day, the same way, walking the same access road in. They're going to catch on.
Now, what exactly are you doing on your own private land, though?
Mm-hmm.
What's making you successful? What have you learned?
Yeah. So the big thing that I've really hammered down the past couple of years is access and not oversitting my stands. Growing up, I used to go into the same stand, going the same way, and I was like, why am I not seeing these bigger deer? I'm seeing these spikes. I'm seeing a bunch of doe come through, but like, where are all these mature bucks? Like, they've all turned, nocturnal.
Right.
But I basically forced their hand into that. I've spooked out that area. So the big thing for me was changing my access and not oversitting my stands. So buying this new piece across the street, I'm able to go from the family property to my property and just jump around, playing the wind correctly, following those. The big thing for me are those rut funnels too, going from the bedding to the food. So that's how I've attacked it the past, I would say, probably 3 years.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
try to make sure I word this question correctly. On your private land, what are you looking at for those good rutting areas there in Illinois? I want to,
Mm-hmm.
because here in Michigan, I, I look for the bedding area in those thick briar areas. I know a lot of those does can like it. I know a lot of the bucks they'll kind of they'll have a spot on both sides of like a hill. So I try and find like the middle part of it. That's what I like to look for. What are you looking for there in Illinois?
Yeah, very, very similar. By me, so my neck of the woods tends to be very hilly. It's one of the higher parts in Illinois. So you're going to have a lot of ravines. You're going to have a lot of, topography. But for us, there's a ton of honeysuckle So I'm not sure if you know much about brush honeysuckle. It's very invasive, very thick. It's good in terms of just screening, but that's probably about all that's good for.
Yeah.
The deer will browse it. They will munch on the leaves, but it's just killing everything underneath it. It doesn't allow for any sunlight to hit the ground. No, regen happening. But those are going to be those main spots where those bucks are, hanging out. So they'll scent check all those edges. They'll go into that thicker stuff. They know that thick stuff's in between the primary bedding and the food. So they're scent checking that whole thing. And that's predominantly for my place. It's super thick.
Yeah. And I did notice, though, on your recent post of some trees that you posted.
Yeah,
So
I love trees.
I'm kind of curious to hear about that. I mean, you don't really hear that much often. I mean, I've read some articles of how people are planting apple trees in rows for their land management, trying to manage deer. What exactly are you doing with planting trees exactly?
So I've really embraced the whole mindset of creating I would say a paradise for all animals, specifically turkey and whitetails, just because those are the predominant animals that I'm hunting. So I purchased a piece of property and I wanted to turn this piece into basically a mecca of just diversity.
Okay.
So if you think about, diversity, I'm having browse, I have those native grasses, I have those native forbs, I have regen coming on the understory due to, opening up the canopy a little bit. I do have clover, plots. I'll have a couple brassica plots, but that's not my main source of food. My main source of food is going to be the browse, native browse. Because if you think about it, you're going to be having browse for majority of the year until fall hits, and then I do have fall and winter, and then I do have my fall plots. I will have 2 acres of standing corn. I'll have beans standing too. So my big thing is to have food throughout the whole year.
And I did notice you're doing some frost seeding. Is that helping with your year-round food source?
So the frost seeding helps. Definitely helps with the turkeys as well. I've been seeing an increase in rabbits and turkey poults. That clover and just having that vegetation that's like shin high is perfect for those poults. They're able to go through and hide, not getting nicked off by any hawks or anything like that. But I've put in over, past 2 years, I've put in probably close to 1,000 shrubs and trees so far. And I'm going to put in another 1,200 this weekend. And then next year I have to put in 3,000.
That's insane.
So just for the listeners, I converted 23 acres of ag field into CRP. So there's pros and cons to a conservation program. So for the pros, you're getting paid to put your land into habitat. Okay. It's actually more than the ag. So I'm actually making more off of this acreage than ag rent. The cons is you have to follow a certain program that they tell you. Okay. So they're going to send out an ecologist, and then you have to sort of listen to what they're saying to put, all these trees and grasses and everything into these certain spots. And I went back and forth with my ecologist. It was just butting heads. He's like, no switch. I'm like, but I want switch. They don't like monocultures. They like diversity. They like big blue stem. They like Indian grass. They like having flowers mixed in. They don't like a monoculture of just like one species. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's where they want a diverse, they want to make it back like into the grasslands and the prairies, like back in the day, like an oak savanna or something like that.
So was this a program that you're getting paid to be a part of this program?
So Illinois has a conservation program, so the CRP. Mine's in the highly erodible. So my land, it's very erodible. So like all of my drainage ditches are washing out. So it's like all downhill. So we had really bad rain and snow the past 3 days. So we had like 12 inches of precipitation. And I just posted a video on Legacy Pursuit on Instagram, and literally I just put in a pond. The pond's overflowing, and it's going all the way from the top of my property all the way down to the bottom, and just like a straight stream straight down, looks like a waterfall. So there's no grasses. There's no grasses stopping that water from running off. That's the one downside to ag is you're losing that nutrients in the soil, and then you're also allowing for that water to just have its way at it.
Yeah. I mean, the rain that we've had the last couple of days and the weird snow, I mean, obviously I'm kind of like right across the river from you basically in a sense. So yeah, that I could see how that stuff. Now I'm trying to find that post you posted on Legacy Pursuit post?
On the story.
Okay, I want to see if I can see this.
Just on their story. But like we needed the moisture, but it just came down so fast where, I did frost seed that whole pond bank with clover and chicory, and I guarantee you all that seed is just gone. I didn't, compact. I didn't cultipack it in, so it's probably washed all the way down to the bottom of the property.
And that's all from that storm that we've had the last couple of days? That did that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at it. It's like a giant river.
Yeah, it's going straight over my overflow. It's crazy.
This is the highly erodible place that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's on my piece where a lot of that ground is just washing away. So all that topsoil is ending up at the bottom of my property because it's downhill.
Okay.
So a lot of that soil up top is just not very fertile.
Okay.
It's washing all that topsoil down because of the constant ag that was put in for the past, 10 years.
Are you having to do more work then if it seems like your land's kind of like on an angle? Are you doing a lot more work than what you need to? Well, I don't want to say need to, but in order to make sure it stays healthy?
Yeah. So the big thing is planning appropriately in terms of where I'm going to put these grasses and where I'm going to put these shrubs, as almost acting as like a windbreak because the predominant wind's a northwest wind for me. So I'm putting those shrubs and putting those grass strips where these deer are able to bed up on the back side of it, but also it's going to stop that water from coming downhill. Does that make sense? So it's been a lot of planning. I could send you my map on what I created on Google Maps or Google Earth. But that's the fun thing about creating your own piece. It's like almost like art in a way. You're just having fun with it. You're like, oh, I'll put a tree here. I'll put a group of trees here. It's like painting like Bob Ross. I'm not sure if you ever watched Bob Ross. He's like, oh, let's just put a little tree right here.
That'll be our little secret.
So it's fun. It's a lot of work. I do agree with that. It's, I was talking with my fiance yesterday and she's like, I don't know how many people would enjoy what you do. I'm like, a lot of people actually do enjoy the land management side of it. I was telling John and Tyler, I actually enjoy this almost as much as actually hunting.
Really?
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where I can't wait for the season to be done because it's such a long season. I'm drained by the time I'm done. I'm like, let's go. Let's get back into land management. Let's start, TSI. Let's start spraying. Let's start getting all the frost seeding done. It gets me pumped up. It really does.
I mean, that's majority of the year. I mean, hunting's only, here in Michigan, it's only 3 months. So
it's nonstop. It's constant. So like when the season finishes, I'm going out and I'm doing TSI. So I'm cutting invasive shrubs like honeysuckle, like autumn olive, multifloral rose, those pain in the ass briars that will go through anything.
Oh, those suck, man. I can't stand them.
Yeah, those don't do any good for habitat, besides the rabbit underneath them. And then, I'll obviously I'll knock down a bunch of elm, ash, allow for more browse to come in, come spring. I'll do a couple hinge cuts here and there. It just depends on if it's appropriate for the area. That's my winter. And then come spring, it's planting, it's seeding, it's spraying. It's fun. I love it.
What exactly are you doing? Are you doing anything specific for bedding area? Because I know this hinge cutting thing is kind of this new wave of, oh, you got to go out there and hinge cut. If you're not hinge cutting, you're not doing anything
No.
correct out there. I've heard both sides of the coin on that. What side of the coin are you?
No, there's a time and a place for hinge cuts. For me, I'll throw down a hinge or two if these deer are traveling a way that I don't want them to travel.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to cut it maybe below my hip so that tree is on the ground and sort of making its own funnel. So I'll put like one hinge coming here and then another hinge here, and then they're going through where my fingertips are at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the big thing for me is I'm funneling them into a certain spot. In terms of bedding, just knocking down trees, honestly, the bad trees. So going in and taking down your ash, your elm, those are going to fall down eventually either way. You put them on the ground, you might end up finding morels too come this time of the year. So there's numerous pros to that. But that's my big thing is just putting trees on the ground, not clearing it up too much, letting some sun get to the ground because these deer are going to be bedding and they're just going to stand up and they don't have to go too far to hit this, regeneration of, browse, just flowers coming up, just native forbs. So I just do it in pockets. People tend to get carried away and just do these, big sections. I'll pocket everything because I do like thick.
Yeah.
I do like the thick. So I do have pockets of that honeysuckle. Yes, it's bad for, the environment just because you're not getting any sundown, but I understand that the deer are browsing it and I understand that they're using it for bedding as well. So give and take. You got to give and take.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really done it necessarily where we're at, only because we just don't need it necessarily, and because we just some spots you just don't need. I mean, I think a lot of our on my land is everything's kind of picked perfectly. It's all set up the same, so it's like, you know what? I don't want to do anything. I've gone through and I've cleared some like fallen timber that's fallen on like some trails that I like them to kind of walk on, and where I've seen them walk on, and then they don't walk it anymore. So it's like, all right, I don't like where they're moving around, so I want them to come this certain way around my tree stand, and so I've done that. But yeah, I've been fortunate where I haven't had the ability to go out there and hinge cut because a lot of the stuff it's set up perfectly, and I can't. But there's also spots in the land on the property I don't even want to go into because I know that's where they're going to be bedding. I don't want to touch it. That's
I mean, this is the time where I go into those spots. I just go in and just risk it. I have to get the work done either way. So normally leading up to the season, mid-August, maybe even early August, once I do all my mowing, get everything, all the trails mowed down, clover mowed down, I don't go out into these tracts of timber until opening day or when I start to get a buck daylighting. I'm just going to leave them. Yeah. You have to. You're not going to go out there and do all this work and then I'm going to go into this spot and just bump all these deer out.
Yeah, point.
So you have to, it's tough because it's a recreational property. I want to go out there and enjoy it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I just need to, take my foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll be out there soon enough. October 1st will come very quickly.
What type of trail cameras are you running out there and helping you?
So I just started using cell cams 2 years ago. I was more of a card pull guy. Wild Game Innovations. So that's all I was using. And then we partnered up with GSM. So that's Stealth Cam, that's Muddy, and then that's Wild Game as well, Innovations. So I've been using their cell cams. I used, what else have I used in the past? Tacticam I've used a couple times. I borrowed some of John's just to test them out for the first time, and that's it. I was hooked.
With the Tacticams?
Cell cams, game changer. Well, just cell cams in general.
Oh.
It keeps me from having to go in there. It's just establishing okay, less pressure on the property. It's a 45-acre piece, so my main two axes are either up top of the hill, which I tend to not do just because anything at the bottom is going to be hearing me coming down. So I tend to go all the way on the opposite side and work my way in. But if I don't have to go in there and pull these cards, it's a game changer.
Last year was my first time running cell cameras, and I loved it. It's like, oh man, I don't have to go out there half the time. That's freaking sweet, man. But
Good and a bad thing. Your notifications are going off at night, and you're just like, oh no, I was just there.
I know. And then there was one time I remember I was at work and my phone just kept blowing up. I'm like, what? What is going on with my phone right now? I look up and there's like 20 million notifications from Tacticam, and there's like 3 giant bucks right there. I'm like,
heartbreak.
Boss, I gotta go. I'm not feeling good anymore. I got buckitis or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that happened to me this year. I knew where this one buck was bedding. So I went in, and as I was setting up my stand, it was like at noon. So I'm like, nothing's going to be moving much at noon, Yeah, sure enough. I have a hot doe that runs through. I have 4-point and a spike following her. So I'm like, damn, this is going to be a good spot. But then I listened to my gut, and I'm like, let's go back. Well, I listened to my brain, not my gut. So I'm like, I'm just going to go back to my other stand and sit there. I set up a camera, and sure enough, my shooter buck walks right in front of that stand that I just set up, literally 45 minutes after I left.
And he's right there.
Right there. Like dummy me. So I saw, okay, hot doe coming through. I should have just got my bow, walked back to the car, and then got up into that tree. But isn't it great though? It just keeps you wanting to come back for more.
Exactly.
just hooks you back in.
It's like those one commercials where that old guy has that dollar on
got you $1. Yep.
You gotta love it. I mean, heck,
you start to key in on those main times. So those dates where historically your property is going to be either holding deer or it's going to be holding those hot does. So I should have known. Usually that it's very cliche, but usually October 31st to about like November 9th for us. You want to be in the stand if you can. If the weather's great, everything's perfect. It is a recipe for success. It really is.
So my luckiest time has been October like 18th, 19th, and 20th. I never had a deer on October 1st. I don't know if I ever do want to have that because it's like, oh crap. Have you done an October 1st?
Yeah, October 1st and October 2nd. Yeah.
I don't know.
My first archery buck was October 1st.
Really?
Yeah, opening day. 11 point. Yeah.
11 point?
Yeah.
Dang, man.
First buck through. That was when I wasn't running trail cameras. First buck through. I'm like, oh, let's go. Got within like 8 yards of me.
That close?
Yes. It was unreal. I wish I was filming back in the day.
You want to share that story real quick?
Yeah. So that was my first year going out with a bow. My uncle used to bow hunt. I sort of got hooked from that. But my dad, my uncles were up there, and my 2 little cousins were up there, and they were, I believe, going for dove, just because it was like October 1st. It was still hot,
Oh yeah.
And so I set up my stand in this one spot where historically I've seen a lot of deer. And 9 o'clock, I hear some rustling leaves to my left, and I see a buck coming down. I'm like, oh, here we go. I didn't realize he had a split brow tine, which was awesome. And then he had, a bunch of shit up top. So he's coming. I'm shaking. Like, this is my first experience drawing back a bow on a whitetail. I'm shaking. He's coming. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't hold any longer because how old was I? I was 17, 18. 18, I was scrawny though, so I was weak. So I drew that bow back. I had to let it off, and he heard something, so he puts his head up, but he just keeps eating. So bring myself back together, and I draw for a second time, and that's when he was starting to approach a lot closer. So it was about 20 yards, and I have a trail right in front of me, and I puts his head up, and I just center punched him. He went maybe 50 yards in the field behind me, and I call my dad. Like, did you kill one? I'm like, yeah. It's like, no way, it's opening day. I'm like, let's go. It was great having everyone there. My two little cousins were there too. They were a little like skittish because they were really little. They're like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
that's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried with that because I don't want them to be like turned off of it. But 10 years later, they're hooked just like me. So I don't think I messed them up at all. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. That was my first kill, and I've only killed 6 more bucks after that. So I've been pretty picky on both properties. So I killed 4 does last year, and I killed a buck in Kansas, and I ate tag soup in terms of bucks in Illinois.
What exactly are you looking for?
It just age class. I don't care about the rack at all. I just want a mature buck. I was chasing. I'm not sure if you saw Primo. He was a buck that I was chasing. I ended up finding him dead this past December.
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got him aged at 8.5. So I just got his teeth back. So he was 8.5 years old. I was chasing him for 3 years.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a heartbreak. 24-inch inside spread. He was bigger last year. He was mid 160s last year, but he was old. I knew he was old too. Like,
and you just saw him dead out there in the field?
No, so I had him on camera middle of September. I had him clockwork, like Brett. Like I knew where he was going to be at opening day. I'm like, I'm gonna kill this buck. Like, this is gonna be my biggest my oldest, my biggest. Middle of September, he hits my licking branch, perfect, and then poof, gone. I get one more picture 2 days later of him running through my property. So I have like a trail going down the middle of it. Picture of him running down towards where I figured he was bedding. So I have like a small tract of timber that's maybe about 1.5 acres.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is where he's bedding. I was able to put cameras on the neighbor property. I got permission, and I knew how he was moving. His core just got so much smaller every year. Like, I was able to pinpoint exactly where he was at. And then for me to find him dead in that spot, I like got down to my knees. I'm like, I knew this buck inside and out. I knew where he was bedding, and it's done. Like, yeah, it was emotional. I was crying quite a bit. I'm an emotional guy. So, but yeah, not to see that deer back on camera really, really sucks.
Oh, I'd be crying too. I mean, if that's something you were after for a long period of time, were you specifically holding out on him? Like, I want to see what he gets next year and next year after that?
No, I wasn't. So when I got pictures of him 3 years ago, I would have killed him.
Okay.
He was 5.5. He was a great deer, wide, tall, big body. And then, so I actually got that first picture on the family property. And then when I bought my piece, I actually got pictures of him down there, and he was wider. He was taller. I'm like, oh my God. This guy's he got the nickname of the Rampolla buck. People were, calling him that, or Bullwinkle. So I would have killed him all 3 of those years. I had one encounter with him 2 years ago, and I just couldn't see my sight. Couldn't see my pins.
Oh.
25 yards. It was 15 minutes. No, probably about 25 minutes before. It was legal shooting light, but I couldn't see. I had my old trophy rig with my bare bow. I didn't want to chance it. You send away an animal like that, it would devastate me.
Yeah, I don't blame you right there. But I mean, you don't want to take a bad shot and risk it. And
no, at the end of the day, I want to make a lethal shot. I don't want these animals to suffer. I want to be as quick as possible. So seeing him go by, went down, checked the camera, and it was him 100%. I knew it was him, but I just want to make sure. And I checked that camera. I'm like, God, it was him. And then the day before gun season 2 years ago, he came through with a bunch of does. I literally hunted 3 days right before that, and he didn't show up once. And literally the day that I went back for work, he showed up.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Chess match. It's what keeps you coming back for more. Like I said, it's fun. It eats away at you, but
right.
It's a lot of sleepless nights. Like, oh, what could have I done differently? But you learn from it. You keep learning from it. And we'll keep learning until we're dead. And that's what I tell people.
Yeah, it's archery hunting. That's my thing, and hunting in general. I think it's something you can never perfect. It's something you can always strive to perfection, but you're just never going to get there.
Yeah. I'm no expert at any of this stuff that I'm talking about. It's just from experience, all stuff, things that I've done. Like right. For the land management stuff, I've watched all these videos. I've watched Jeff Sturgis. I've watched Bill Winky. I've watched all these guys that right now are just, focusing on the management. Greg Lessinger with HuntWorks. So I take little bits from everybody, and see what works for me. That's the big piece of advice. What other people are doing might not work for your property. Just like how you said, you don't need hinge cuts. They're cool. They're fun to do.
Right.
Do you need them? No, you really don't. Just depends. It's all situational.
Exactly. And I mean, you said that perfectly. I've said it before too, of just because someone else is doing something 2 counties over, doesn't necessarily mean you got to be doing the same thing. Your deer are going to be acting differently, the ones over there. And
yeah. Trust me. The one thing that I also, oh, my bad.
No, you can go ahead.
The one thing that I wanted to say is, like, for the guys that do have their own pieces, to hunt or get permission or whatever, look around like on a map and see, okay, what do these other properties not have that I could put onto my place? How is my place going to stand out from everybody else? Okay, they have a bunch of ag, but they don't have any water. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go put in a couple watering holes in my place and get them coming to that water. Other place has a ton of ag, but they don't have a lot of bedding. So what am I going to put in? Bedding. So that's why I converted my ag to primarily bedding and browse and just overall cover. It's because if I look around me, it's a bunch of ag. I had corn, I had beans on every side of me. So I'm not going to put in
the same thing.
I'm going to put something different. And, if it does attract them, great. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then I, change it up again. Just like brassicas don't work on my place. So I'll do a little plot. Some of the does will hammer it, but I'm not going to put 5 acres of brassicas or anything like that.
No, you got to be able to innovate and adapt and kind of. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you doing if you're just trying the same thing over and over again and trying to get the same result?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're just wasting money.
Exactly.
Time is precious. We only have so much time to hunt. I'm a weekend warrior, so like I'll work 4 days a week, and I'm fortunate enough to have like a 11-hour, workday schedule. So I have an off day, and usually it's a Friday. So I'll have a 3-day week to hunt. Thank God I'm not in PA because I wouldn't be able to hunt Sundays.
Oh, that's right. I've heard PA you can't hunt on Sundays. That's right.
I don't know how they do it. I think they're talking about lifting that restriction. I have Tyler, so my good buddies from Legacy Pursuit. He's from PA, so I get all the inside scoop on that.
Is Pennsylvania the only state to do it? Because I feel like I've heard other states that have been doing that or going for it. I think I talked to
All
someone
I
in
know is
Delaware.
Pennsylvania. All I know is Pennsylvania. You might be right. I'm not sure.
I mean, to tell me
I'm not
when
sure
I
to be
can and
honest.
cannot hunt, you basically can go tell yourself to go F off, basically. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean,
Especially Sundays. There's nothing like going to the stand on the Sunday.
no, and I've said this before, but when I first met my wife, in the spring, I'm out golfing on Fridays, and in the fall, I'm hunting, and on Saturdays, I don't do anything except sit in my chair and watch college football, and Sundays is the day I go out hunting.
Yeah,
So she knew right
that's
up
true.
away, and like you said, it's not you can't beat hunting on a Sunday.
No, Sunday
God
morning.
dang.
Uh, yeah, that's sort of my church in a way.
Yeah.
I do have to do a better job of going to church, but I usually tell everyone, "Hey, I'm closer to God than you are. I'm
That's right.
20 feet." That's what I tell people, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just peaceful. You disconnect, and with I've started to film a little bit more, so going back to when I was younger and just like the simple times of not having the technology and just going out and focusing on the outdoors and just hunting in general, those were great. Like now I'm trying to film a little bit more, obviously for content, but for memories too, to have that,
Right.
have that memory, but it does eat away at you. Just constantly having to get things on film and post this, post that. I'm like, just turn it off for a second.
Right. Takes a little part of the joy out of it all.
It does. It does. And we've had to, so as a group, Legacy Pursuit, that's why we started Legacy Pursuit. Originally it was more of like a job, and we didn't want it to be a job. So we wanted to just have fun, involve the younger generation, educate on conservation, and, just get together. And with that, it felt like we were just having to pump out content, and it just got exhausting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been nice to just take a little bit of a step back. I don't post. It is what it is.
You guys control your own
Yeah.
quote unquote destiny with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We're having fun with it. And great group of guys. We're meeting a lot of people, making a lot of connections. That's the one thing that I do love about the hunting industry is we're all one group. We're not supposed to be going against each other. Or, we're a small
Right.
group as it is. We're a minority.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are going, trying to end a lot of the things that we enjoy. So there's still a lot of good people in the industry, which is good.
And I think a lot of people I hear a lot of people talk about how it's like, oh, we're hunters, we got to stick together. And in my opinion, for the most part, we do stick together as hunters. I mean, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, if I don't know you and I just met you though, and we're at a hunting show, I'm on your team. And I feel like the more people that generally attack the hunters are the people who don't hunt and have no idea what hunting and everything is all about.
Yeah.
And trust me, don't care what people think. I'm going to tell you my opinion. If you like it, you don't like it. Sorry, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's your opinion, and it doesn't affect me.
So, like growing up in Chicago, I had to always explain myself, and sort of break it down, simplify it on, why I hunt. And it always came down to, A, I grew up doing it, and B, I know where my food's coming from. And I'm
Yeah.
spending $15 on a deer tag for, 65 to 90 pounds of meat.
Right. You got the most healthiest food out there.
Yeah. And then it's tough when you come against like a vegan. Then it's really tough just because you don't really have anything to go against.
That's true.
I'm like, then I just sort of go more the conservation route and be like, if you don't have hunters, there's going to be a lot more accidents. These animals are going to be dying a lot more frequently from disease, from just like car accidents or anything in general. Everything has its place, in this world. So,
in my opinion, getting in an argument with a vegan is basically me yelling at a wall, trying to see
it's tough.
It's nothing's going to change, though it's going to be a wall.
Yeah, it's tough. But like what you were saying, like if I go into a random place and I meet a hunter, we automatically click.
Yep.
You know, there's no bad blood between us. It's, you know, even if he's an Ohio State fan, I'm a Michigan fan, which I am. I'll still probably talk to him. I'm a Michigan fan. No. I'm a Michigan fan. I'm not an Ohio State fan. Are you Michigan State?
Angelo, I think we're at the end of the show.
Brett, are you a Michigan State fan?
No.
What are you?
I'll just do this and see if you get it.
You're Ohio State?
No.
Ohio?
Oregon Ducks.
Oh. How the hell did you become a Ducks fan?
I get that every time.
I mean, I love the Ducks. They got sick unis.
They're getting out their new ones here soon, but Generation O uniforms is what they're calling them. But no, it was like in high school. I was watching them play. It was the same story of kind of how my dad became a Notre Dame fan. I watched them play one game. I started loving what they were doing, and I grew up playing football in high school, and I loved the fast speed move offense, and that's what they were doing out there, obviously. And next thing I know, I'm falling in love with the Oregon Ducks, and it was funny. Real quick, I was with my son last night, and we were playing with my Oregon Ducks little puff ball, and I'm like, listen, this is going to be the team that we root for in this house. And my wife's a Michigan fan. And she's like, don't start coaching him right away. I said, no. I told him, if you say go blue or go maize at all in this household, I'm building you a barn outside. She's like, no. I was like, yeah, 3 teams to like. It's Oregon, Notre Dame, Tennessee, or anyone else besides Michigan.
Not the home state that you live in.
I know.
Well, welcome to the big leagues now. Welcome to the Big Ten, bro.
Hey, Michigan got that title handed to them. No.
All right, let's move on here.
Yeah, I got a point there. We can go down this for a while. I will say
rabbit hole number 1.
I will say this.
I'm surprised we didn't go down many other rabbit holes. It only took us 52 minutes to go down our first rabbit hole. So
that is true.
Good.
I'm anxious to see, though, how the 4 out west schools adapt to the Big Ten type of play style. I mean, everyone knows Big Ten's run and gun, and out west.
They'll ball out.
Yeah.
They're just not as gritty.
Nope.
You know, they're all flash. I feel like those West schools are flashy teams, whereas when it comes down to it, you're going to have to get down in the trenches and fight.
Yeah.
Welcome to the big league, boy.
Dan Lanning knows how to do it, man. But I did. Okay.
I'm from Illinois and I'm a Michigan fan, so I don't have much to say.
There. What's happening with your home state there, Angelo?
We're good at basketball. Illinois? That's about it. We're good at basketball. That's about it.
Yeah, that is true. I did actually have a buddy I played football against, and he went to Illinois, though, and played football there.
Nice.
But
it's awesome.
2 questions I kind of wanted to ask before we kind of wrap up for this night was any hunting laws that, I mean, we talked about PA and their hunting law out there on Sundays you can't hunt. Is there anything in Illinois that you don't agree with that you'd like to see changed?
Yeah. Might be kind of a little bit oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Controversial?
Controversial. Jesus, I was going to say conservational. I'm like, controversial. Jeez. It's been a long day.
Yes,
bear with me.
You're good.
But I would love to go to a 1 buck state. Not too many people will say that. We were able to kill 2 bucks legally. I'd love to go back to 1, and I'd also love a antler restriction.
An antler restriction. That's a first I've heard.
That's just me.
What do you mean by that?
It's just like PA, legal is, 3 on one side. 3 on one side has to have 3, and I think greater than 5 points or something like that. I mean, for the whole state, I'm probably going to be pissing people off, but for the first hunter, like the new coming hunter, I'd love for them to go out there and kill whatever they want if it gets them hooked, but for our 2 places, I really have tried to, tell the family members to hold off and let these deer, get a little bit older, because then they're complaining on, why am I not seeing bigger deer? Why am I not killing bigger deer?
Right.
It's because you're killing the first thing that's coming through. Like, if you want to just kill a deer for the meat, just kill a doe. We have plenty of does. That, and then being able to put down mineral, not so much like baiting or sitting over bait or anything like that. It's just being able to put out supplemental, like mineral and supplemental feed, throughout, or even just the off season, just to get them through like the harsher winters. We haven't had a really harsh winter the past couple of years, but
right,
it's not going to hurt them. It'll actually do them a lot better.
Yeah, it's going to help them out more. I mean, we can't even bait, and we can't do a supplemental feeding either. And
yeah,
I'm a big advocate for that because they need it. I mean, they just went through.
They went through hell.
Yeah, they went through crap in the rut, and then
like these deer look weathered.
Yeah, it's like they aged like fine wine in a weird way.
It's almost doing them a favor, killing them. They just look so ragged. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. It's been a hell of a chase for you. I apologize.
Right.
She wasn't easy, huh?
But you're right. It helps them out though, and because they need it, and if they can't find a lot of the food, we're helping them give it to them. And the fact, I think that I wish it sounds like Illinois, same way, same mentality as Michigan, where they think, granted, they are scientists. I'm not saying that they're idiots and they're doing their best, but it's like, can you at least take what we've been saying as hunters?
Yeah.
We're out there every day. We're seeing it. And I'm not saying that they're not, but how come they don't take more of what we have to say into consideration? They just think, nope, we're right. We're the scientists. We have the degrees, and you're idiots.
We're like one of the biggest sample pools. Like, just ask us. We cover the whole state.
Yeah. We're willing to tell you. We're right here.
I mean, they're asking us about how many turkey and how many bobcats and how many wild pigs they're seeing. I mean, ask us other stuff. Ask us like the stuff that actually matters.
Exactly.
Well, wild pigs, I can see. All right, if you're seeing wild pigs, there's something wrong in Illinois. Supposedly they're in central or southern Illinois right now.
Really?
Yeah, so that ain't good. Bobcats have had a huge comeback here. So they'll ask us, how many bobcats have you seen? I saw 5 last year.
Dang.
Yeah, there was virtually none, and they were reintroduced. We actually have a trapping season for them now. We're actually able to hunt them too. I think you have to get a lottery tag. I've tried the past couple of years and haven't been able to draw, but
that'd be pretty cool to try and get, though.
It would be cool. They're causing an issue too, and we've seen our turkey numbers slowly decline since the reintroduction of the bobcats. No one's trapping anymore. I trap. I mean, every year I usually take about 30 coons off of the properties.
Oh, nice.
And we've had a good turkey population. Last week I saw 8 strutters and probably 20 hens out in the field. So that's huge. That's great. But no one's trapping because the fur no one's buying it.
Right.
And China and Russia are the only 2 markets, and they ain't doing anything with it. So
I think people are just getting lazy.
It's a lot. It's time consuming. You have to check the traps every single day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, heck, I heard on one of the surveys here recently in Michigan, they were asking, how many acorns did you see? I was like,
yeah, count.
Question. I saw 1,300,000. I mean, come on. I mean,
it makes you think, like, who are these people that are creating these questions?
I was like, this is the stupidest survey I've ever looked at in my entire life.
Must have voted for Biden.
Yeah, they must have.
Should not have said that.
No, you're not wrong. I mean,
Hope I'm not offending anybody.
I don't care if you look at but you're right.
Shit.
I did notice.
Yeah.
Real last question I kind of wanted to ask was water feather boats. It's kind of like a new product. Am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. Been out for a little bit over a year. So veteran owned. They're out of Evansville, Indiana. And we've had the pleasure to partner up with them. We've been working some of their shows and met a lot of their guys. And it's just an awesome product. It's super lightweight. It's almost like a sneak boat in a way, but you're able to use it for so many different things. So like for waterfowl, the waterfowl industry is gobbling it up. Just because it's so light, you're able to bring it anywhere. You could hook a trolling motor to it. It was Coast Guard approved. They put in, I forgot how much weight they put in it. I think they put in like 1,200 pounds before it started to actually catch on water.
Really?
Yeah.
And how officially light is this boat?
Oh Lord, I had it all memorized. I think it was like 52 pounds.
Oh,
back during show season, you have like all the facts, like
memorize
in your memorize and
like a survey.
I believe it's 52 pounds, a little over 9 feet long, a little under 4 feet wide. We had a video of 3 guys actually in it with a trolling motor. We don't recommend it, but it did very well. Super stable. You're able to get out of chest height water, get right into the boat, and the boat's super stable. It will not flip. We say you will fall out of it before the boat even flips.
Really?
Yeah.
I did see one guy on the video of their own social media page. Was this guy did get up? I think he said he was 200 pounds. He was up to his chest, and he was able to push up onto the boat and get on it. And the thing didn't even take on any bit of water. It looked like it was about to, but no, it held up pretty strong. I was like, then he stood up in the boat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our owner, Jeff Klump, he did a demo video for it. And that's what he did. He, went out into chest height water, got in, was fine. And the reason why he created the boat was for actually whitetail hunting. So getting into those hard to reach places quietly, efficiently, and then you're able to actually bring the deer out with you too. There's plenty of room, holds the weight. He killed a buck in Indiana, KIA, and actually used that boat to get it out.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff Klump, he's a part of Whitetail Edge. I'm not sure if you've seen Whitetail Edge.
Not sure.
Ben Rising. So he's a part of their team, and he's a great dude. Genuine, down-to-earth veteran, like I said. Just an awesome stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great product. I love it. We don't support any products that we don't use ourselves and we don't believe in. We believe in these products. We stand with these companies, and same thing for like Osseo and for, Elevate Tree Stand Company. Just awesome people behind the product, which is what we love.
Yeah. I did notice you guys were also with Gilly Puck.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, Gilly Puck is an awesome tool that you could add to your, repertoire of stuff. I've used it for turkey quite a bit, to be honest. I'll just use it as like a backdrop or even put it in front of me, just for a little bit more of cover. But yeah, it's a cool product. I love what he with it. It just adds a little bit more depth, especially in those places where you don't have any cover behind you. Let's just say you lose all your leaves in your tree. So you go out October 1st, you're fine. Middle of November, all your leaves are gone. What do you do? So me personally, I would move my stand, but but if you don't want to move your stand, you just put the Gilly Puck up.
You gotta get your gung ho on this spot right here. I'm not moving, dang it. But I seen it and I was like, man, that's a pretty cool and innovative product. I was like, I could get behind that one because
it is. he's come out with a lot of cool stuff too. Just came out with the ghillie, I think it's called the ghillie pod. It's like a tripod where it actually just sticks into the ground, so it's super stable. It's not going to move. You're able to hook the ghillie puck up to the front of it, and you're able to move that around as well. So I actually used that last week for youth season and worked out really good.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, Angelo, I don't want to take up much of your time because I know you've had a long day. I know I've had a long day myself. Was there any stories that we didn't get to share tonight? Any topics that we didn't get to share that you wanted to?
In terms of topics, I feel like we covered quite a bit. Hopefully I was able to answer some questions for people and open up people's eyes to Illinois a little bit, at least private hunting. But story, I always like to tell this story as the first year that I just bought my place, and my dad was hunting the family property, and he put a shot on a really nice buck. And I just closed on the property that day. And he put a shot on the buck, and we go looking for the blood, and we could just tell it just wasn't a good hit. We actually bumped the deer twice, so that was our mistake. We, with the snow and the blood, it amplifies that blood. It makes it look like a damn heart shot,
right?
It was just a flesh wound. And so we actually bumped the deer twice, and so we back out, and we call the property owner, and we meet up with him the next day. So we're tracking the deer. He was moving the whole night. Coyotes were on him the whole time, and he was bedding down, rubbing. He hit him through the front left shoulder. So he was rubbing that shoulder in like mud. So there was probably areas of maybe 10 by 10 yards of just him just rolling in the ground. So we're going, we don't see him, we keep going, and we end up, I think we walked close to like 15 miles. I tracked on my phone, going up and down hills, going back and forth. And the deer actually goes back onto the family property. So now we're able to get our guns back out just because we weren't allowed to have them on the neighbor property. So the deer goes through my family property, and then it jumps the fence, and where does it go? It goes onto the property that I just closed on that day.
Really?
Yes. So it jumps. So I'm tracking in the snow. We got specks of blood, and me not knowing the property, I send my dad down at the end, and I go, he's in there. Have you ever gone to like a spot where you could smell just the musk on these whitetails?
Oh yeah, that's
like the scent gland. You just smell them.
That's going to stick with you forever.
Yeah. So I get down to the bottom. I'm like, I could smell him. He's in here. So my dad's down at the end, and I just basically do a push through this, stand of timber, and I just tell him, like, don't shoot into the timber because I'm going through it. Okay. If he comes out, wait for him to go past, and then take your shot. So I hear something get up ahead of me, and I hear my dad, oh, there he is. Oh, and he shoots off 3 rounds. He hits him on the 3rd round. So I hit the ground because I don't know where he's shooting. I'm like, knowing my luck. So I hit the ground. So once the shooting's done, I run out there, and the buck's dead, and he got him on the third shot. But that was the first deer that was actually harvested on the property, and it was my dad who got it, and we closed on the place that morning, which is pretty crazy.
Oh, that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Did you?
So I'm still yet. He always reminds me that he's still been the first one, or the first and only one to kill a buck on the property right now.
What a dad to kind of rub it in your face.
What a whirlwind of emotions. We went from like the lowest of lows, and just like not giving up.
Right.
Like we as hunters, like I can't go to bed and not think about sending away an animal. Like it'll just eat away at me. Yeah. We have so much appreciation, so much respect for these animals. So the fact that we kept sticking with it, and he ended up going onto the place that we were able to use a firearm on, like someone was looking out for us that day, and it was just a great ending to a great story. So that's probably one of my favorite stories that I tell.
Real quick, did you end up when you were running out there? Were you like, "Why were you shooting? I had to
Yeah,
cut the blood."
I did. I'm like, what the fuck?
How right are you?
He's like, I didn't know what to do. He just came out. I saw him come out. And when he hit him that third time, his front legs actually broke.
Oh, really?
He hit so hard because he was in the air,
Yeah.
like running. So when he hit the ground, both of his front legs actually broke.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, which is crazy. So just that impact of that fall. But amazing animals. How strong are these animals? Like, you shoot me through the leg, I'm down. I'm done. Like, I'm throwing in the towel. But man, these animals, they're resilient. Amazing.
I mean, I get poison ivy, I have to run to the hospital. I mean,
Yeah,
these
it's true.
deer have.
You gotta. I was gonna say, yeah, you gotta cancel a podcast. So.
Make me feel worse about it.
No, I'm just messing with you. I'm glad we're still able to make it happen and
yes,
answer some questions here. It was a good time.
Oh, man, that was an awesome story to hear, man. That it's cool to just there's no other words besides that's just an awesome story and a story to be able to share with your dad on all those. It's just like you said when we first started, the emotion connected with hunting, and just some people just, no matter what we say or how we describe it, unless you actually get into it for like more than 1 year, you're just not going to understand it.
No, like the amount of hugs that we were giving, and we tend to swear a lot. Like, we're Italian, so like we were just like swearing, just hugging, just like all good, good swearing. There's a thing as good swearing. But actually the realtor came out and took pictures for us, and then the landowners that we asked the permission to go on, they actually came out and helped us drag out the deer too. So they were all invested in this, in this retrieval. So they were super pumped. And it was just a great day. Good ending.
And even though it's like I might be the one that physically got the deer, but everyone feels like they were a part of getting that deer. I mean, like, you just, the community with hunting is just, you can't beat it. Everyone loves it all together. And it's just like, you get, I think some people get more excited to see someone else get a deer. And it's like, yeah. It's like, heck, man, that's awesome.
Like, I'm sure, like, you have kids, correct?
Yes.
Have they harvested an animal yet?
No, my daughter's 4. My son's going to be 1.
Yeah, so they have some time. But your goals are probably going to shift a little bit once they start, if they want to hunt. You're going to be focused on them. That's at least how I would be. I've focused a little bit more on my cousins now because they're starting to get into hunting, and I'm more excited for them.
Yeah.
Like, see that hook in their eyes and just like, let's go. That's it. He's got the bug. He's going to be worse than me.
You can just tell it in their eye of like,
yeah.
I mean, I seen it in my own dad's eyes when I got my deer last year. I mean, I've seen it, but last year was different with my dad only because it's like I shot this deer, I called him, and he was no big deer at all. He maybe did 80 inches total, but for me, he was just, I don't know what it was about this deer, but he was just a rock star. Anyways, call my dad. I'm like, I just shot this giant buck, man. He's fucking dead over there. So I'm going to walk around this back way. And he's like, all right, I'll come down there and see you. I get down there and I'm just standing there looking at him. I'm like, yep, he's dead right here. He comes over and he's like, fuck yeah, bro. Oh, he's just, just something in his eye at that time.
Yeah.
I just saw, he's like, man, he's just more excited than I am about this. And it's,
you're going to remember that over the size of the deer.
Exactly.
Well, that's what it's all about. Like, I love that. Those are the stories that are going to stick with us for forever.
Exactly.
So how fortunate are we to be hunters?
It's the best. I don't even
beautiful
know.
Thing.
Yeah. It's a sport, but it's more than a lifestyle. It's just, It's a part of me.
Yeah, it's I've had those talks where like if I didn't have hunting, like I would feel lost. And people are like, "Oh, you're just being dramatic." Like, no, I would have like a hole in my heart.
Yeah.
It'd be like losing a family member. Like, it's just, yeah, it would eat away at me.
Well, Angela, if someone wants to get in contact with you, how's a good place for someone to try and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so Instagram would probably be the easiest way. The Hunting Life 365, that's my, outdoorsman Instagram. And then you could also follow Legacy Pursuit on Instagram as well. That's going to be our team page. Myself, John, Tyler, Kansas Prince, it's John's little boy. He's a killer. And we're just having a good time with it, educating, focusing on conservation, just remembering that it's all about having fun, making memories. So,
yeah. Well, Angelo, thank you again for accepting my apologies from last Thursday of me being a little baby about it all. And thanks for coming on the show for this Thursday, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. I had a blast. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I have to have you on again sometime, man.
All right. Have a good one, man.
See you, Angelo. Oh, man. What a nice guy. Just down to earth. And Angelo is just a cool dude. I know those guys there at Legacy Pursuit, and they're just awesome guys. And I can't wait to have the other two guys coming on the show. I know we got John scheduled, getting ready to schedule the other guy out there in PA. So, but real quick, this was an awesome show. This was the Indiana week, but now today was Illinois, as you know, why we rescheduled. And like we said the other night, there is some kind of big news. I guess you say big news coming, but some big things are coming. Some big changes are going to be happening here at Whitetail Advantage. So I'm excited about that. I just only want to mention that right now, only because I do not want to be the only one saying it by myself here on the show. With that being said, I just want to say thank you all for being a part of the show. We couldn't do it without your support. Thank you. Just can't say thank you enough. If you ever want to be a guest on our show, message us on our social media platforms, or you can just send me a text at 269-993-3653. We do a live show Monday through Wednesday. That is one thing that I'll announce that we're going to be doing differently is only doing live at podcast shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And next week, I think we're in Iowa, if I am correct. So now we're going to be taking a long vacation and getting ready for next week's shows. But that being said, thank you all again for the support, and we'll see you guys next time on the Whitetail Advantage Show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.